Have you ever made a pair of pants and you try it on and they are just too high-waisted? You want to lower the waist. And what do you do with all of these different pattern pieces? How do we make sure this is going to fit us when we lower the waist? And when you're doing this, you might run into issues like, oh my gosh, I'm going to cut off so much of my pocket, I can't fit my hand in there. And my yoke and back, I'm almost going to cut all of it off. What do I do? Well, I'm going to show you. And if you haven't done much pattern drafting, that's okay. I'm going to walk you through this step by step. You got this. And don't worry, if you're not using the exact pattern I'm using today, this is going to work on any pant pattern. Speaking of pants, if you didn't know, I have an online sewing club. Over there, you get a new pattern every single month with sewing and pattern drafting lessons. And this month, it's the wide leg pant pattern. So if you want to sew up a pair of wide leg pants with me and learn about altering the pattern to fit perfectly, make sure you check it out. The link's down below in the description. All right, now let's get to adjusting the waist on the pattern, making it lower, more of a low rise pant. So this pink ribbon is right where I want my new waistline to be. So I want this seam here to be way down here. And you can see all the different pattern pieces we are going to have to go through to make this happen. So I'm going to grab all my pattern pieces and I'm going to go over exactly how to do this and alter each one. So I have everything I need traced out. I have the back pant leg, the front pant leg, I have the front pocket bag, I've got the yoke, I've got the fly, I've got the fly shield, I've got the front pocket backing, I've got the front pocket bag front, and I've got my waistband. And if your pants don't have pockets, well, when I'm talking about pockets, you can just skip that part. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how much are we lowering these pants. So I'm going to measure from the waist seam down, and it looks like I'm lowering them 1.5 inches. Now, I'm not measuring all the way up to the top because I want my waistband to come down in this place here. So first we need to do a little measuring. So we want this waist seam here down at this pink ribbon, which is going to take the waistband and move it down into this space here. So we're going to measure from the waist down to the ribbon, and I have about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to need to remove 1.5 inches from all of these pattern pieces that are intersecting with the ribbon. And we're going to lower the waistband, and we'll remeasure it, make sure it's going to fit. Now, if you wanted to take in your pants more at this new waistline, you can, but that's a separate alteration. This alteration is assuming you love the way the pants fit, you just want a lower waist. The first pattern I'm going to alter is the front pant leg, and you can see that that lines right up here with all of these shapes. And you can see right where that ribbon, where our new waistline is going to intersect. So this up here is going to be the piece that we need to get rid of. So we're going to measure 1.5 inches down from the top and cut it off. And then we'll go from there with all the other pattern pieces that are intersecting this pattern piece. The key to really making this work is making sure that you're altering all of the pattern pieces the same amount in the same way. So this here's my waistline, and I'm going to be measuring 1.5 inches down, parallel the existing waistline. And now that is my new cut line. And you might be wondering, what about the seam allowance? So for these pattern pieces, we don't need to worry about the seam allowance. It's already built in. It's just pushing down the seam allowance. So you don't have to worry about adding it out. So now I'm going to cut off this 1.5 inches. There we go. And this little piece here is garbage. Bye. So you can see how we've cut off the chunk of paper up here, which is going to lower the waist. And you can also see that the seam allowance is hanging out above that pink ribbon. So now you have a visual representation of exactly what it is we're doing to all these pattern pieces. And next, we're going to be working with the fly and the fly shield because they're right under here, under the front panel. So now we're working with the fly and the fly shield, and I've traced out a copy here. So we're going to be working with the traced out copy. And a nice little hack is that you can actually place these on top of each other, and we can pin them together here at the bottom so they don't move. And then we're going to take the 1.5 inches off of both of them at the same time. There we go. And now we have our new fly and fly shield lowered 1.5 inches. So you can see this is doing the same thing. We've lowered the fly. Now we're going to do the same thing to all the pocket pieces on the front, but we're going to have to do something different to that back yoke. So keep on watching because you're going to want to see how to deal with that yoke. So now I have my 3 pocket pieces laid out, and I'm going to do the same thing. Lay them on top of each other and cut that 1.5 inches off. So you can see that we've lowered everything here for the pocket. But what would happen if we had lowered it so much that we barely had a pocket opening and it was too shallow to even like get your hand in? What we would need to do is draw a lower curve so that way we can deepen this pocket opening here. And when we do it to the pocket bag piece, and if we're doing it to the pocket bag here that attaches to the front pant leg, we also have to alter that front pant leg curve so that way they line up. Now let's take a look at how that would look on the pattern if we need to do that. So here's that pocket opening on the front of the pants. Here's my pocket bag that lines up with it. You can see that those are identical shapes. So I'm just going to pin those together so that way they don't move on me. You can use a big weight too. I just don't want the weight to block your view. And now what we would need to do is lower it. So maybe we want to come down an inch and then we're going to curve it over up into the existing curve here. So we could just cut out a deeper pocket opening here. And you just need to make sure you do it to both of these pieces. So if your pocket opening becomes too shallow because you've lowered the waist on the pants, this is how you can fix it. But our pants are going to work fine without doing that to the actual pattern. So let's move on to the yoke. So the thing about the yoke is that it creates shape for your backside. So unlike the pocket pattern, it's not creating shape and fit. The yoke line is, it's kind of being taken in here. So if you like the fit of your pants, I don't want you to adjust this yoke line. Otherwise, it might start to fit you differently. But there is a scenario where we might need to adjust that yoke line. Let me show you. So let's say your ribbon for your new waist was right at the yoke line on the side. We do not want it right at that yoke line because when we're sewing the waistband to the waist, it's gonna end up really, really bulky here. So I want this waistline either above it or below it, or we're actually just going to move this line down and blend it with the point in the back. So let's go over lowering that yoke line, how we would do that and alter each pattern piece. And then I'll do the standard one that I've been following all the way around, which is my 1.5 inches. So here's my side seam, and I wanted to lower that 1/2 inch so that way that new seam isn't going to be intersecting right at that new waistline. So I'm going to extend the side seam 1/2 inch. And now I need to blend it. So now we're going to blend it smoothly back into the existing yoke. So you'll have this very gradual blend over to center back. You need to make sure you are not extending center back. You are just extending the side seam and blending over to center back. But because we have added to the bottom at side seam, this means we need to take away on the pants at the side seam. Same concept. So we're going to come down 1/2 inch and then we're going to blend it with center back. So what we're doing is just changing where that style line is. So we would then be cutting here and then cutting here. So we'd be adding 1/2 inch to the yoke and taking away 1/2 inch from the back pant where the yoke line is. So this will help you keep the same fit across the back side, but adjust where that intersecting seam is here at the side if you're having problems with it possibly running into your waistband. So most of the time, you're not gonna need to do that. So you're probably just gonna need to lower the waist. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower my waist 1.5 inches, and I'm going to continue following this curve around the back. This curve around the back yoke is also important for fit. So this here is going to be my new cutting line. And we can see that this here is the bottom of the yoke. And if I was just to draw that 1/2 inch seam allowance in there, we'll be able to see how big my yoke is going to be on the side. It's going to be small, but it's not going to be running into my waistband. The important thing when doing this is just to make sure you're drawing a line parallel with the existing waistline and that the curve lines up properly. So now we have our back yoke shortened. So now we have one last step, and that's the waistband. So because we've lowered the waist, there's a good chance that you need to make your waistband a little bigger. So we are going to measure at the sewing line on all of the pattern pieces at the waist and see what we get for a measurement. So I measured all of these pattern pieces together and I got 17 3/4. So this is my back yoke, my pocket, my front pant leg with these two overlap, and then my fly shield. But when I measured my original waistband piece, it was too small. We need to add to the waistband piece because you can see when we lower the waist, the body starts to get bigger as we go towards the hips. So we need to lengthen our waistband so that way all of our new pieces will fit into the waistband. So I've taped some extra paper on and I'm going to make my waistband 2 inches longer. So now my waistband is long enough to fit into all of these pieces and make it around my waist. So now when we sew up a new pair of pants, the waistline is going to be right where this pink ribbon is. So we've officially dropped everything 1.5 inches. And now it's gonna fit us exactly how we wanted it to. And if you have the opposite problem where the pants are too low and you wanna make them high-waisted, I'm gonna go over that in a separate video. It'll be coming out soon and I'll put a link down below in the description. If you have any questions about this process, leave it down below in the comments and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video today, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when all the new videos come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching today. These videos are for you guys. So let me know what other kinds of pattern alteration videos you would like to see down below in the comments. And don't forget to check out the sewing club so you can sew up these wide leg pants with me, and the online sewing classes or the in-person sewing classes. Links for everything are down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching today. Bye!